Hey guys, so today I'm going to finally review my Join car stereo that I put in my 2006 Saab 9.5. When I first got it, I had to do a lot of research on trying to figure out what harnesses would work and what bezels would work and cages, etc. So hopefully this helps other people that want to do the same thing. The unit is from a company called Join. I got it on Amazon for about $260. The harness itself that I finally ended up using was from In-Car Tech out of the UK. Bought both the ISO harness and the ISO to ISO amplifier controls, which I'll talk about in a second. And then the bezel and the cage were both from a kit, double-din kit from Spiral Installations that I got off of eBay. So all told for the stereo and the control harness and bezel and kit was probably around $350, which is still a great bargain for everything that you get. There are some pros and cons about the system, but I'll talk about that when we get into that. The installation isn't too bad. I've got a write-up that I'll link to in the video. So let's go ahead and turn it on. And you can set that logo during startup in some of the settings menus. It's not the fastest thing in the world to start up, but it does have a timer that you can set for when you go like to the gas station and stuff. That'll keep it on 12 volt power for however long that you feel like you need to. So here it is running. You can see that I've already got the background changed and I've got some applications installed. It runs Android 4.4 and it's pretty quick overall. You can see as I move through the menu, they're not too bad. Go through some of the other menus, and it's basic Android, so not anything too impressive here. Some of the applications, so ended up with a product called Lux because the default brightness is just way too bright at night, and this allows you to go all the way down to even negative brightness, just so that you can make sure that it's not super bright at night. You've got some choices up here as to what to connect to. Got it on wireless. There's some Lux settings, like I said, GPS, amplifier settings, so you can change the amplifier controls as you need to. There are also volume controls, normal volume with your finger, or over here there's a knob that also has a mute if you press it in. There is GPS, and it's built in with iGo. Right now I don't have the SD card installed on it, but it will still work with the GPS antenna itself. The SD card comes with the maps preloaded. It goes into a slot on the unit itself, and you can also add an SD card on top of that. This is so that you can navigate offline off of Wi-Fi. If you want, you can use Wi-Fi and connect it, tether it to your phone, and use Google Maps or Apple Maps as well. So radio, nothing too fancy, it works. And you can have built music that you want to run. I run Power Amp, like I said, off the SD card. I've also got Amazon Music installed, so you can run Amazon Music, and you can play it both offline and while connected to the cloud. And the sound quality is not too bad. straightforward. Allows you to run whatever you need to. It also has torque. I don't have the Bluetooth connection hooked up, or sorry, yeah, the Bluetooth OBD2 connection. I use an OBD Link LX. Don't have it hooked up at the moment, but it works just fine. And so you can see right now it's not actually connected to anything, but if it was, it would show coolant boost, revs, all that kind of stuff if the car was running. Browser works obviously over Wi-Fi. You can also do things like Netflix works just fine. Anything that works on Android for the most part works just fine. You can root them if you want to, and then there's also you can do Bluetooth, so you can come in here and actually do calling and things like that. Right now my phone's not connected, but if it was, then I could do calling, and it works okay. It's not the best in the world. The incoming calls only show the phone number, not the name, which is a little annoying, but it works in a pinch. I've got the microphone ran up around the A-pillar so that it's closer to my mouth and I can talk at a normal level and people can still hear me just fine. So that is probably about it as far as how it works overall. Some of the settings that you can set up. So Wi-Fi, of course, Bluetooth settings, so if you wanted to set up to where it auto answers. Sound, you can turn off the keytones. I've got them on right now just for the demo. I usually keep them off. Display, you can set up wallpapers like the Saab wallpaper that I have. Brightness mode, like I said, the Lux app works a whole lot better than the built-in brightness. Element, you can set up the panel light color, so over along this side, if the lights were turned on at night, then those will illuminate to whatever color you want to set it to. I've got mine as close as I can to the built-in kind of Saab green. Storage, how much storage is available right now. You can see there's not much storage on the internal location, which is kind of frustrating, but the like I said, you can put an SD card in it and increase your storage, and you can install apps on the SD card, things like that as well, or move them to the SD card, same as any Android device. Backup, reset, Google accounts, all the normal stuff. GPS settings, you can change the GPS application, so if you wanted the GPS button to default to Apple Maps or Google Maps, you can do that as well. Driving settings, so I didn't buy a backup camera for this one. They do offer them for about $30 and they seem to be okay, but to be honest, I can look out the rearview window as well. Some extra settings, so like I said, there's a shutdown delay when the accessory is turned off. So if you set it to like 5 minutes, then that gives you enough time usually to get gas at the pump and get back in the car, and the stereo will be right where you left it off, ready to go. If you change this to, I think the default's like 30 seconds, you can make it pretty long. You can make it up to 2 hours, which to me is a little bit much, but it'll just keep resident power through that 12-volt connection. Let's see what else. Amplifier settings, so you can set different amplifier settings. I've got mine on kind of a custom setting right now, but there's some presets, loudness, fader, so you can adjust the fader to however you want. Steering wheel keys, so this was something that I could never get working right, and I even called. I had originally bought a Connects 2 harness that they said only works with the 2008s and up, and apparently they must be right. Went ahead and bought it anyway, since the 2006 to 2009 was the same model basically, but for some reason could never get it working, and in fact it even messed things up. I ended up with half the time when I tried to start the car, I would get a key not accepted, and then I'd have to try it 4 or 5 times and it finally would start. So I ended up disconnecting that Connects 2 harness and switched to the InCarTech harness without the steering wheel controls. When I talked to InCarTech, they actually said that they were never able to get the Chinese head units to work with their steering wheel controls either. So I just decided to live without the steering wheel controls. It's not that big of a deal for me, but if it is for you, then you may consider getting a different head unit. Something from like JVC or Pioneer would work as well, and might even work just fine with the steering wheel control harnesses that they sell. There are some factory settings that you can set up. If you go inside here, there's a password on Join's website. There's nothing much, to be honest, there's not much to set up except for the only thing that I changed in there was the logo icon as the thing boots up. Saab is one of the icons that's built into it, so that's nice, and able to go ahead and just put that in there so that when the car starts up, as the unit's booting up, it will show that nice 3D Saab logo. You can see here what it's actually running, Android 4.4, and some of the, it's only got 1 gig of RAM and a little ARM Cortex processor. Nothing super fancy, but to be honest, it works just fine and runs, fast enough. And that's about it. There's not much more to say. There are a couple of other settings that you can set, but for the most part, that's about it. There is a little bit of what I would call a delay when it comes to getting into and out of the radio app. And then the radio app itself, to be honest, is not that great. It's not horrible, and you can hear, the radio working just fine, but it's not the greatest when it comes to tuning in stations compared to the stock radio. The antenna doesn't seem to work quite as well, and you get a little bit more static on the radio app than you do with the stock radio. Also, for me, the big thing was without the ISO to ISO amplifier interface that in-car tech sells, there was too much feedback and static coming through the speakers originally. So if you see here, as it's playing, even at like 1 and 2, you would be able to hear a lot of static coming in because the head unit was trying to put out power, and then the amplifier itself was putting out power, and it was just, I don't know if it was just too much, the gain was too much, but the in-car tech amplifier harness kit allows you to adjust each speaker left front, left rear, right rear independently. So that was kind of nice to be able to turn down the gain on them down to the point where there was pretty much no hiss or feedback, and it was able to, at 1 or 2, it's a nice really low volume for if you're still trying to listen to something as you're getting out of your car or something after the car's off. It's not super loud. Without it, it was just a little too loud. Even at like, maybe 9 or 10 right now, it's not too bad, but without it, it was pretty loud. So, I think that's about it. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments, but this is my first time to actually do something like this, so I probably stuttered and stammered through the whole thing, but I don't feel like taking multiple takes of it, so you get what you get, and hopefully that helps out somebody else. Like I said, if you have questions, just let me know. Thanks.